This is the Apostles That Rock Podcast.
Hey, we're following up.
Hey, this is Mark from Casting Crowns.
Hey, what's up? I'm Jobe Mac.
Hi, this is Dawn from Firefly, and you're listening to Apostles That Rock.
This is the Apostles That Rock Podcast. I'm Thomas Lopez. It's episode 97, and on this podcast, I have the privilege of talking with Jon Egan. For nearly 20 years, Jon has been a phenomenal songwriter and worship leader at New Life Church in Colorado Springs. He is best known for the songs I Am Free, Overcome, Strong God, Make a Way, and On the Throne. He has collaborated with some of the top Christian writers, producers, and artists, including Jason Ingram, Paul Mabury, Kari, Jobe, and Paul Baloche. He led the group Desperation Band along with the group New Life Worship and has led worship throughout America and in over 10 countries around the globe. Earlier this year, he released a solo project called Unveil. Jon Egan has battled depression and anxiety for most of his life and knows firsthand what it means to bring a sacrifice of praise, and this album really captures that. Jon Egan joins me on the phone right now. Hey, Jon, how are you?
I'm doing great, Thomas. How are you?
Well, I am doing well. We've got some great weather here, some highs right now in the mid-70s.
Well, we're actually finally experiencing some warmth in Colorado Springs. We've had all winter, zero spring.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are making the turn. So we're all here in Colorado Springs, we're kind of lifted a little bit by the warm weather.
Mm-hmm. So I've had your music on repeat over the last few weeks, not just the new stuff, but some of the old stuff as well. Before we begin talking about your project, Unveil, can you share with us a little bit about the writing process and what it takes to come up with some of your songs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for everyone it might be slightly different, but I think the one common denominator that I have found, because over the years I've worked with a lot of different writers, but I think it has to be a constant thing, a daily thing. The way I kind of look at it is I pictured David out in the fields, tending to the sheep, and I just picture him constantly kind of looking at rocks and these stones, and just kind of filling his arsenal, and then when he has this, this situation arise with Goliath, he has these smooth stones to use. He only needed to use one of them, but he had those stones from just time, out in the fields. And so that's why I kind of look at songwriting. It's every day. I mean, I just spent the last 2 hours before this phone call working on an idea, and it went in all kinds of different directions. So, but I think the key is consistency, and so you could kind of stumble onto things. And so at least for me, I've been writing songs for 16, 17 years on a consistent basis, and it's a fight. It's not always easy. Some things come quickly. Most things come with a lot of sweat and work. But I think it's another analogy. It's like swinging. It's these guys down in the mines. Just swinging a hammer every single day and just swinging, and maybe finding nothing but swinging and swinging. And you're getting stronger and stronger as you swing. Every once in a while, you strike gold. Every once in a while, you hit something of value. And so I think you have to kind of be committed to being in the mines, committed to being in the trenches. So for me, on a spiritual level and a discipline level, it's looked a lot like that. And then on a practical level, it involves a lot of people. It involves team. I've had amazing amount of just fun and breakthrough with other people. So here's a theme, here's an idea. What do you, and 2 or 3 guys, and it's just amazing what can come out of the collaboration. So that's, when we started on with the Desperation Band early on, we had more songs that were we kind of hustled through ourselves individually. And then as time went on, collaboration became a really, kind of a centerpiece to how we write and how I write. And so on this new project, there's 1 or 2 songs that I wrote alone. Every other song is a collaboration. Some songs have 5 names on them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a quick quick answer to, I mean, it's a lifestyle, you know, songwriting, and it takes a lifetime. And so there's a lot to it. We can go into practical things and stuff, but that's kind of a 30,000-foot answer, I think.
You kind of alluded to it in what you just said. We have this album, Unveil, which released in March 2019. Could you tell us the overall story behind the album?
Sure. Yeah, I was ready to do something really live. You know, I'm a worship leader. I spend most of my time in worship just with the people of God, with the church, my church, and there's nothing that awakens me more than hearing the people sing, and there's nothing that awakens me more than being worship in environments that where we're not just kind of playing through songs. You know, there's ministry taking place, and you know, for lack of a better word, there's kind of like these authentic moments or raw moments that are happening, and I just knew that I wanted to I had a bunch of songs, you know, I was trying to think of what should I do with these songs, and you know, with Desperation Band, it was kind of a youth emphasis worship team, and a lot of us just kind of aged out of that. A lot of the guys started having kids, and so we all, and I thought, well, I've got so many songs. I think the Desperation Band piece of things, we should kind of hand that off to some young kids and see what they want to maybe do with it. And so we're working on that. And I just thought, well, but I got all these songs, and I want to do something with it. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to start recording at church. You know, we kind of had the gear, but we had to rent a few things. So we do a worship night every month. We started 2 years ago, called First Wednesday, and it's kind of awakened our church these nights, because all we do is worship for an hour and a half. We do some worship, we do some prayer. And I thought, can I track these? And with very little kind of produced plan, can we track these? And I wanted to start sprinkling in these songs, and let's try this arrangement. It's like, let's make a tweak. Next month we did it again. Same song, different way. By the end of it was about a 6-month period, I had about 15 new songs recorded. I mean, we're talking about 8 hours of just live worship we had tracked. And it just was such a fun experience. And started connecting with some producers and our label. Can we whittle this thing down to an album? And so the album Unveil was born out of that. It was kind of like, let's just roll tape and see what happens. And it was all. I'm really pumped about it. I'm really proud of it because we were, I think, made some bold decisions to keep a lot of the live moments and these little ministry moments, and just stuff that you can't quite plan that just kind of happened, and some prayers. And so it was really cool. I'm really proud to have something that's like, this is me leading worship. It's kind of how I am when I lead worship. And because we've done records, we've done albums for years, but it's amazing how much you have to cut out. It's amazing how much you can't include. And this time we just said, no, let's include more of that stuff. So that's kind of just how the album was birthed. And it was a really cool. I mean, I'm grateful to be able to just record music and then to release it. I mean, geez, it's amazing. So it was really cool experience.
Yeah, one of my favorite songs on the project is Be Strong. Could you tell us the story behind that song?
Yeah, I was kind of leading our worship department here at the church, which was a real stretch for me. They asked me to do that, and just my wiring, you know, and I'm such creative, and so I was handling admin stuff, and I just got really burned out. And I went to our pastor and I said, I can't do this. This is not my gifting. And I was really I was wrestling with a lot of anxiety. It was just waking me up in the night, and because I just wasn't in my in my rhythm, it wasn't in my flow, it wasn't in the wheelhouse or the way that God created me. We have an amazing team here, and my pastor was like, "Oh my goodness, no, what are we doing? Let's not force this, you know." So, and I said, "Let's, you know, why don't you take some time and let's take a month or two, like a sabbatical kind of thing." And I was in that break and just catching my breath, and I was starting to sleep better, and it's just like, wow, there was an anxiety that was just so brutal. And a friend of mine just sent me Joshua 1:9, just be strong in the Lord. And he sent me that passage, and then just that command from the Lord, or just that encouragement from the Lord, is all throughout Scripture. And then in that sabbatical time, I set up like a little kind of recording rig in my basement, and I just thought, man, I'm going to start writing again. You know, I just think, for me, worship is just always this way through. Worship is always this. It's battle, and I just realized, you know what, I just need to worship again. I just need to sing again. I need to even create and write. And I was blessed with some time off, and I was going to use it, you know. And so I started thinking through this. There's all kinds of expressions in worship. One of the great congregational expressions is singing to God about God. But there's another expression that we see in the Psalms, which is, we see a lot of David doing it, where he's actually singing over his own soul. He's actually singing to his body, singing to his soul, to his heart, to his mind. You know, rise up, my soul, and bless the Lord, O my soul. Why are you so downcast within me? I will bless his holy name. So I just thought, you know what? I wasn't even with the song "Be Strong." It wasn't like, I'm going to write the song for the album or for an album. I'm gonna sing a song over my own soul. It's, you know, just kind of tap into the David honesty, you know, the David vulnerability. And so that's what came out. And so it's just, so I kind of just harnessed Psalm 40, David waiting on the Lord, and it's patiently waiting and waiting and waiting, you know. And I think that's kind of a space that we don't hold very easily. Sometimes as believers, we really expect God to come through in our way, in our time. And I love Psalm 40 because I waited a long time. The Message translation says that finally he heard my cry. I mean, it's almost sarcastic. But I think that man, the older I get, the more people I know who are kind of in that season of, no, I'm believing for the Lord to come through, break through, but I'm waiting, and I'm kind of getting desperate. And so I was thinking, as a worship leader, as a songwriter, how can I help kind of write something about that space, about that time of asking and waiting, and in between that and rescue. And because in Psalm 40, the Lord did answer David's cry. You know, he did lift him out of the pit and set his feet on a rock and put a new song on his mouth. And I thought, wow, this is such a great picture of our life on this side of heaven. And how do we hold this space, you know? And I think one of the great ways that we could hold this space is to sing over our own souls, to be strong in the Lord, because there is a biblical certainty that he will come through, that he will break through. He is on his way. And then to declare that, wow, he did show up and lifted me out of the pit, put a new song on. I mean, it's so many people's story, and I found even my own story in that. I wasn't at all dangerously burned out or anything like that, but it was just kind of like, where do I go from here? And my fears seemed to be the loudest, and singing. It became instantly my wife's. I showed it to her. She's, the tears in her eyes. She said, because we had started talking about if we're going to do an album. She's like, if this song is not on the project we're talking about, then I don't want the project. Mm-hmm. And when I started talking to the label and things got more serious about doing the project, I just said, guys, there's one song that I don't know if you're going to like, I don't know if you like it or not, but my wife says it has to be on, so when she speaks, I'm going to listen. So, and they said, no problem. So, and what's cool is it ended up being like a standout song for people, something that they've used, that they have used in their own journey, in their own fight, in their own battle. And so it's awesome. We do it at church all the time, which is cool because I wasn't sure how congregational per se it was, but it's really, really cool to sing it with the people. So
Yeah. Then you also have your title track, Unveil, which speaks about the glory and beauty of our God. Could you expand a little bit more on that song?
Yeah, I just love songs similar to like what I was just saying with Be Strong. There's a couple songs that I've just lately just come into this mindset of eternity and just how this life is such a breath. This life is it's a blink of an eye, the scriptures say. And we're going to be worshiping the King with the King for all eternity, and all things will be made right. Every tear will be wiped away. There'll be no fear, no sickness. And so the songs that we're going to offer God in heaven will be after all things are made right and new and perfect. Here now we have these couple types of songs that we can offer God that we can only offer him now on this side of redemption. One of them is to offer God a song in our pain, like Be Strong. We're not going to offer a song out of pain when the kingdom comes. And then the other song is because when all things are made right and new and the glory of God rests on the earth and the kingdom is brought here, we'll be in the fullness of his glory. So another song we could boldly ask for now, and I love this, is our pastor says Unveil is a dangerous song. I just think that's such a cool description. Because we're asking God to see him. We're asking for him to reveal his glory to us in a way that he sees fit that won't kill us. If it's in a cloud but we're kind of saying, hey, we're not there yet, but how close can we get? So I love Unveil because at the end of the day, that should be our heart's cry as worshipers, as people who pursue Jesus with all that we are, is to be bold and wild enough to say, we want to see you. We want more. We want, would you reveal your glory? And we titled the album Unveil just because it's one of the more unique songs that I've ever written, and it has this musical quality to it that kind of seems to match the yearning for the glory of God. And there's something that came together with that I just felt like was so special. And we've been singing it here at church for years, and every time we sing it, it's like you can't half sing this. You kind of have to give this thing all of it, or don't even show up at all. It's like we're unveil our eyes to see you, to behold you, unveil our hearts to know you. And then let your glory shine. So I love being able to offer God songs like this that are really kind of unique to our time now, and are gutsy. And oh man, I love it. We love singing it.
As noted at the beginning of the program, you've dealt a lot with fear and anxiety, and I'm sure depression as well. Could you maybe give some advice on ways to cope for those listening?
It's amazing how common it is, where people just feel off, it's on and off for most of my life. I've seen anxiety kind of come, sometimes in just a fierce way. It kind of feels a little crippling. Here's the biggest thing for anyone who's facing that. You have to understand a couple of things. You have to understand, number one, that you are far from alone. You are not battling something alone and without others who get it and know it and are battling with you. The other thing is that it's temporary. You have to understand that God is writing a bigger story that is full of, the thing that is rushing at you much stronger than fear is resurrection and redemption and promise and healing. So it will be done. It will be over. My prayer for you is that it's over right now. My prayer for you is that the Lord heals you. But I think also that the Lord is building warriors in this area. I think he's giving authority to people because they have fought the fight with it, because they have gone through, not around or not avoided. So I just encourage you to look to the Lord and just say, okay, there's going to be people in my life who deal with this, and I want to help them. And I think that the Lord is training us, to live as kind of within our wounds to bring healing to others, And I think the battles that I faced in my own life with anxiety has brought me to write songs of hope, write songs of freedom, to declare different realities. I think as worshipers, as believers, we may stand in darkness, we may stand in trial or struggle, but we sing about a great and glorious hope. We sing about a great and glorious life that is more true. You may be thinking, I'm dealing with fear or anxiety, and it feels so real. And I'm telling you, it is real. But I'll tell you what's more real is Jesus. I'll tell you what's more alive is the hope of the cross.
Right.
And resurrection. And in my life, I've had many times where I could choose to bow down to my emotions or my feelings, or the great truth and reality of Jesus Christ and the cross, which says that I am a child of God, which says that I am a victor in God through Christ. And worship has been the way to kind of seal that. Worship has been the way to stand out on the front lines, sing about the love of the Lord enduring forever. And it's amazing the deliverance that I've seen that the Lord has brought to my life. But it's not your true self. Your true self is free in Jesus' name. Your true self is being led, like the Psalms say, to wide open spaces. You're not closed in. You're not trapped. So, and then I'm not even close to a mental health professional or anything like that. But of course, you got to say, like, hey, get help. There's awesome people that could help if you're finding that it's something that's really bringing torment. But you will be okay. That is a certainty.
What are some ways our listeners can pray for you and your ministry?
Oh, the biggest thing that I want to be, the biggest thing I want ministry to be for me is kind of an overflow of my life with Jesus, and then also like really secondary to being a great husband and a great father. I've got 3 kids, and I just celebrated my 40th birthday a couple of weeks ago, and it's an amazing thing. Like, just perspective of, it's not like 40 is old or anything, but it's kind of given me permission to kind of process and take inventory of my life. And gosh, my ultimate ministry is to my 3 kids and to my wife, and then I want to stay faithful to my church, and songs and albums. If that stuff kind of flows out of that, then awesome. So, if anyone's praying for me, which I so appreciate, it would be to stay innocent, and to keep the main things, and to build, not to build castles for myself, but to build my family. Yeah, that's the way you can pray for me. Yeah. Thanks for asking that, Thomas.
Yeah. How can our listeners connect with you and your music?
Yeah. I'm mostly just on Instagram. And I love Instagram because, I don't know, it's just simpler and more fun for me. But please, I respond to every direct message, and I love it. It's especially releasing this new music. It's been so amazing to hear stories or people, songs are resonating with people, and why. So I'm just Jon C. Egan is my, it's Twitter and Instagram. But Instagram is where we could connect, but it's just Jon, no H, so JONCEGAN. Please, whoever's listening, come say hi. I'd love to say hello and chat with you. Really, I really mean that.
Yep. And your music is also on iTunes, Amazon.
Yeah, Spotify, all those places. You know, it used to be just one or two streams and places you get music. Now it's like 100. So wherever you get it, it will be there. It'll be available. And I'd be honored for you to, you know, if I could just say this, Thomas, like for me, it's my heart to, with this album, you know, there's a song on the album called The Table, and it's kind of just, it's probably like the great theme of the record for me. It's just that, you know, at the end of the day, God gives us a seat at his table, which is just an amazing thing. And so on a different level for me, for anyone who wants, you know, to join in this with this music, it's kind of to give me a seat at their table, and I'd be honored to be at their table. And instead of me being a distant person who announces records or announces songs, it's to share, you know, some bread together and share these songs, and that's my heart. So if for anyone to join in and listen and to care or anything, that I just see it as that. I see it as you welcoming me in. And I hope I'm welcoming you into my life and have a seat at my table to be real and honest and say, hey, we're in this thing together, and the kingdom is amazing, but you know, life is full of adventure, but we're in it together. So let's sing together. So anyway, it's a bit, you know, just more, but yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. The incredible Jon Egan. Thanks so much for being on.
Hey, it's honor. Thank you for having me.
Evangelizing through music.
So carry me, I'm just a dead man lying on the carpet, can't find a heartbeat, make me breathe, wanna be a new man, tired of the old one, off with the old plan.
Apostles that rock.
If you love what we do here, consider supporting us. Your giving goes a long way to reach people for Christ. Click donate at apostlesthatrockradio.com, where you can also check out our online radio station. We're playing some of today's top Christian artists. That's apostlesthatrockradio.com. That's going to do it for this podcast. Join us back here next time for more Apostles That Rock.